Hello. Welcome back to the Space Gulag. We are back with part 3 of our series. Before we begin this video, special thanks to all of our patrons, our voice actors, and everyone a part of my team. If you want a chance to win a free lightsaber in the next giveaway, watch to the end of the video. I'll tell you exactly how you can win. Our story continues days after the Empire was born. The Jedi were extinguished, and the people of the Copernican system rallied behind the strength of the newly crowned Emperor. While the Emperor was the new power in the galaxy, the democratic people of Earth still rallied behind him. In the old days, the Jedi were revered as heroes, though much like the rest of the Republic, the people of the Copernican system saw the Jedi as part of the problem during the Clone Wars. Dooku, having been the leader of the government that not only tried to overthrow the Republic, but led an aggressive invasion of Earth, was someone they didn't like. The people of Earth didn't take too kindly to that behavior, and while Dooku was no longer a Jedi, that didn't matter. He once was, and that permanently stained the reputation of the Jedi. As did their continuation in the war. It seemed as if they were just tools for the war machine, and instead of being the peacekeepers, the people of the old times referred to them as they were generals in that war. Was it wrong in theory? Possibly, but the people of Earth didn't know the plan that Palpatine created, nor did they know that he had orchestrated the entire Clone Wars. They were acting in the best interests of the global population, considering the global population was successful under the Republic, now the Empire. Throughout the star system, the Copernican system shipyards and drive yards were being retrofitted. Before Tarkin was set to arrive from his mission on Kamino, an Imperial fleet was deployed to protect the system. The fleet was installed because remnants of separatist fleets still existed. Not all the droids were shot down, and a few of them were still serving under Cato-Neimoidian captains and admirals. The only real threat was in the mid-rim, so the Empire thought it best to protect the most pivotal system in the mid-rim. The people of Earth were especially proud to be Imperial because the Empire was consistently taking care of them. There was no evidence to prove the contrary. While the Saturn drive yards had been prepped to create Star Destroyers by the Republic, a new blueprint had been released for the Imperial Star Destroyer, which was ever so slightly larger than the Republic Destroyer. The Imperial vessel was also voided of having any color, similarly to the fleet stationed above Earth, which had no color either. The people of Earth didn't see this as an issue. Truthfully, it made the Imperial fleet seem as much more united than before, with no extra colors, symbols, or any extra looks to it. With the Venator fleet stationed above Earth, many children from Zhenzhou to Thebes would look to the skies at night to see the fleet with their own eyes. It wouldn't require a telescope, just their eyes. The fleet made many children and even young adults from across the entire planet want to travel to Zhenzhou and become admitted into the Imperial Academy. While Zhenzhou originally was meant for clones, the capital was retrofitted as well with the Republic Academy for people that wanted to be of aid to the war effort. When the war ended, the Academy would remain for the sole purpose of those who still wanted to serve the Empire. Eventually, after some time of Tarkin being on Kamino and back and forth across the galaxy, he would arrive on Earth and meet with the top diplomats of the planet and Zhenzhou. Tarkin was enthralled to be here. He'd heard a lot of good things from the Emperor himself about Earth, and truthfully, dealing with the people of Earth was a lot more enjoyable than dealing with the ever-so-repugnant Kaminoans. They were rather annoying and they were rather greedy scientists. Tarkin couldn't wait to sink Tapoka City into the depths of the seas. Regardless, Tarkin would tell them that the Emperor intended on turning Earth into the central outpost in the mid-rim, though the way Tarkin worded it was up to the Copernican system if they wanted to play such a crucial role in Imperial success. Though the people of Earth were extremely eager to show their worth to the galaxy, still feeling as if they were undervalued by the core. The Copernican system finally had the chance to be recognized as a luxurious world, a part of the Empire. While Palpatine may have crowned Earth as pride of the Republic, the people of Earth still yearned for more. The core world still looked down on Earth as just a mere mid-rim world. With a common goal, the people of Earth could strive for anything, and right now, that anything was to be treated as well as the core worlds, which they were, but they were also wanted the classification of being a core world. Tarkin informed them that Palpatine still referred to them as Pride of the Empire, especially considering their superstar dreadnought, the Pride of the Core, was currently stationed outside of Coruscant. The people informed Tarkin that they would like to serve the Empire with loyalty till the end, to which he would inform them that Admiral Yularen would be dispatched to the Copernican system, a new system of the Empire called the Imperial Security Bureau. There was an ISB headquarters that was going to be set up on Coruscant, and the other one was going to be built on Earth. The Empire preferred it this way. With two separate ISB headquarters, one in the core and one in the mid-rim, the chances of individuals teaming up against the Empire and getting away with it would be rare. They'd heard about the Bad Batch not following orders on their mission to kill Saw Gerrera, and the Emperor wasn't thrilled to say the least. Sidious saw the clones as a means to an end, and it was time for their end to begin. He planned on phasing them out, and that would just simply be that. Tarkin also informed the people of Earth that they would retrofit the clone facilities into human facilities for Imperial recruits. He suggested that they enlarge it because Earth would become the center of Imperial recruitment in the Mid-Rim. While people of the core could mostly travel to Coruscant, Earth gave loyalists within the Mid-Rim a place to go. For the large extent of the Mid-Rim that originally sided with the Republic sided with the Empire. They hadn't been given any reason not to, though those that were formerly a part of the Separatists were split 50-50 between loyalty or dissatisfaction with the Empire. There were those of former Separatist worlds who would come to Earth to join the Imperial Academy of Zenzal, while others, like people who called Sereno home, would be reluctant to join the Empire, especially because their capital city was ripped apart by the Empire after the war ended. The first year after the Clone Wars would see a prideful Imperial expansion, with the Saturn drive yards producing Imperial Star Destroyers for the fleet, and the slow decommissioning of Venators. Earth was heralding in a new era of Imperial power. Tarkin would periodically check in, but the main Imperial officer that would be on Earth would be ISB Colonel, and that leader of operations within the facility, Yularen. Yularen would be transferred from Coruscant location to the Earth location consistently. With the Venator fleet over Earth being the last fleet of Venators in the Republic, the people of Earth would actually find honor, being that it was the Venators that came from or stationed above them. The pride of their success during the war that ravaged the galaxy was their defense fleet. The ISDs that Earth manufactured kept pace with the Kuat drive yards. There was something else incredibly important, the growth of new technology from the Empire. Tarkin, Palpatine, and Yularen would consistently have new blueprints for ships such as the Arrestor cruiser and the Interdictor-class destroyer. While these ships weren't large or required a lot of materials, they were quick to come out of the assembly line, though the Interdictor was a case that took a lot longer of time to complete. The ship was experimental, and the Saturn drive yards were working on fleshing it out so that it could be operable. Instead of Zenzal, Imperial senators from Earth would begin a new district, a scientific wing. Because the Saturn drive yards were working on interdictors, a small cruiser with the ability to pull other vessels out of hyperspace, they wanted to ensure they got the project right. The Council of Earth would also decide that the Empire now held a foothold on the galaxy, and it was time to decommission the Titan scavengers. The people of Titan were rather outraged at this, and while the Council of Earth believed this to be the best case, they made a special preparation for the Titan scavengers though. The Titan scavengers would be turned into the Titan ravagers, as they would be promoted to serve under the Emperor's right-hand man. Nobody knew of him, and even the Council of Earth wasn't informed of who they would be serving under. All they knew is that he worked closely with the Emperor, and his initials were DV. He had no call sign and any recognizable rank within the Empire, but because the Titan scavengers had a solid reputation, at least on the Copernican system, they'd be given a chance to serve the greater Empire outside of the Copernican system. While originally they were skeptical, as loyalists to the Empire, they accepted their role, and soon came to rejoice in it, being special forces that worked under Lord Vader and Vader's Fist. Zenzal became the sight to see within the Empire. It was highly revered, with the second best academies in the galaxy for Imperials, falling shortly only behind Coruscant. As for the non-Imperial academies on Earth, they were ranked 3 and 4 in the galaxy, only being slightly edged out by the core worlds exclusively, those academies being in Thebes and the other one being in Zenzal. The Council of Earth continuously worked hard to ensure its places of academia were the best they could be, though being 3 and 4 in the galaxy wasn't good enough in their mind, though this brought people from all around the galaxy to both Zenzal and to Thebes. The capital of Earth was a nice mixing pot for people from across the galaxy to visit. It was full of districts that were a representation of those across the galaxy. Rhodia, Mon Calamari, and several others could find a place to call home on Earth and in Zenzal. It wasn't cheap to live on Earth, or within the Copernican system to begin with, though the best part about Earth was the people's willingness to welcome all species from across the galaxy. As rebellious worlds across the Mid-Rim fell to Imperial invasions, the people of Earth took note of it, though they believed in the Empire and the cause it stood for. 3,000 years of loyalty to the Republic, which was now the Empire, seemed to be a viable cause. Senators from Earth continued to be good representatives of the planet, and because they were good representatives, the people of Earth had no issue with the Empire. While Palpatine's plan included choking out star systems slowly and painfully, he would begin to levy harsher taxes on Mid-Rim worlds, though Earth wasn't one of the worlds that would face these taxes. Same with the planet of Naboo. The senators from the Copernican system knew this, and they were content with it. Being that most Mid-Rim worlds during the Clone Wars belonged to the Separatists, there was really no issue in their mind about it. Palpatine's use of the Imperial Senate helped people believe that democracy was still prevalent in the Empire, which was the point of the Imperial Senate. And while Palpatine crowned himself Emperor, the role initially seemed no different than the role of Chancellor of the Republic. Of course, for the Emperor, he would slowly siphon off power to himself, with no one noticing, while he continued to choke the galaxy. Everything at the Copernican system was successful, because it was treated as a loyal core world. It didn't receive the same treatment as Ryloth or Kamino. While yes, they were both worlds that belonged to the Republic, they had cases of individuals that could provide issue. Most of the core worlds didn't have rebellious leaders, and neither did Earth. Though, within a session of Senate, the senators from the Empire would be informed by the Emperor that Mandalore had fallen. Everyone kind of understood this to be a result of the siege on Mandalore at the end of the Clone Wars. No one actually had an issue with this. While the people of the Republic respected Mandalore's former leader, Duchess Satine, they lost a lot of respect for Mandalore after she was killed by her own people. Of course, Maul was the one to do it, but the people outside of Mandalore assumed it was a rebellion, and their rebellion was put in its place by the Republic at the end of the Clone Wars. The phasing of which Palpatine described it, it just seemed as if the Mandalorians were going to go out into the galaxy and cause harm like they did in the old days. The Imperial Senate was on board with the entire thing the Empire did to Mandalore. Of course, there were senators like Bail Organa and Mon Mothma that didn't agree with it, but truthfully, most of the Imperial Senate saw them as ungrateful, people who'd rather allow the galaxy be militaristically weak and didn't support the role that the Emperor played for the people of the galaxy. The people of Earth felt the same as their senators, and that was final, especially since Zenzal became the pride of the Mid-Rim, with new recruits flooding into the city to become some of the best Imperial naval officers the galaxy had. It was hard to get into Zenzal academies, but there were so many beings in the galaxy who had the opportunity to travel to Earth to join the academies of Zenzal. Everything would be successful for the planet Earth, and for the Empire for several years. As the years passed by, the Interdictor class was shipped off of the shipyards, and as for the new model of Star Destroyer, they were too produced through the Saturn drive yards and sent galaxy-wide. 7 years into the Empire, and the first round of heavy taxes would be levied against the Copernican system, Naboo, and the core. The people of Earth weren't actually too upset with this, because the taxes they paid to the Empire came back to them. The senators they voted into power also informed them that everything was fine. The senators from the core, others who were part of Mon Mothma's and Organa's party, converged and discussed the heavy taxes, but they each expressed that as loyal worlds in the Empire, they were treated with great respect. Anaxis was given a surplus of new supplies to outfit their citizens with better power, Corellia was given a new space yard, and as for Earth, they were gifted by the Empire enough to supply the expansion of the Saturn drive yards. And while one may assume this was a backhanded gift, the truth is, while industry across the Copernican system slowed down, it was their shipyards and their drive yards that allowed them to continue to produce mass amounts of credits. Yet another reason why the Copernican system was sold on serving the Empire, being as the Empire continuously used their taxes that they received on the betterment of the systems that supported it. The Empire thrived off of loyalty and built up on that loyalty. Then Earth would come to learn about the rebels. Though they weren't rebels in the eyes of the people from Earth, these were selfish insurgents working under Saw Gerrera. See along the posters to hunt down the Jedi and report Jedi across the galaxy, a name emerged, and it was a radical insurgent by the name of Saw Gerrera. Ever since his escape thanks to the Bad Batch's failure at the end of the Clone Wars, he'd been out in the galaxy, rampaging along, making people suffer. No one really knew why he was acting so malignantly, but people couldn't stand him. For the hopeless, he didn't offer freedom. For the poor, he didn't give them a way out. For those lost because of the Empire, he didn't give them light. Saul was definitely fighting for a better cause, but he went about it in a way that cost innocent civilians lives. He didn't just target clones or stormtroopers, he targeted the weak, those who couldn't defend themselves. And this scared away any soul that could be on the fence about the Empire, especially on worlds like Naboo and Earth. Truthfully, Saul scared people on Naboo and Earth, especially Earth because of their massive array of Imperial facilities. This wouldn't do anything but make the people of Earth decide that their money better spent on their own protection, and even on finding these mercenaries and making them pay and suffer for their betrayal against the Empire. Earth would go as far to hire paid mercenaries and bounty hunters to hunt down Saul, though none of these efforts would suffice. The Council of Earth did this, not because of propaganda, but because of their location in the Mid-Rim. They were located in an area that Saul would have no issue getting to, though thanks to the elite fleet stationed above the planet, it was rare to imagine that Saul could find himself on-world, but that never stopped him and his band of insurgents before. And then the security on Earth mounted up. It wasn't a hostile takeover, but Imperial Star Destroyers outside of the main fleet would be dispatched around the Copernican system, especially at the Saturn drive yards, and a show of Imperial strength would sit high above the capital city of Zhenzhou. Why? The Emperor was here, and he was here for a special purpose, traveling with some of his best troops, admirals, and officers around the galaxy. The one face that wasn't present at this meeting was the ever-elusive Darth Vader. No one knew anything about him, but he wasn't there. The Emperor was announcing the creation of a new project, one that would be created thanks to the loyalty of the Copernican system. Scientist Galen Erso would be brought in to announce the creation of the project in a positive light. There was no name for it, at least a name that would be revealed to the people of Earth, only known as Project Stardust. Palpatine had a name for it, the Death Star, but that name wasn't openly discussed in front of the project. On another note, the only other reason the Emperor was in the Copernican system, to disclose it, was because of their drive yards, and some of their industrial complexes across the system that were going to be converted into labor camps. The Emperor didn't specifically say that they were labor camps, but he did tell the people that people across the galaxy would be placed on Mars, Titan, and the multitude of other planets within the Copernican system to help work on these projects. It wasn't a negative project and it would benefit the longevity of the Empire, he would say. It would bring in credits to the star systems and it would only allow the Empire to thrive more, and while the Emperor had his show of power present over the Copernican system, capital of Zhenzhou, the people pridefully looked up at it. With the Emperor's arrival and announcement of his new project that would heavily involve the people of the Copernican system, fireworks would set off over the city of Zhenzhou. Of course, the Emperor ended his speech with referring to Earth as Pride of the Empire. It was a great name for the people of the Copernican system, and to hear that they were so highly appreciated made them all the more happy with the Empire. The Council of Earth would ask the Emperor in their meetings about the rise of the Mid-Rim insurgents, to which the Emperor promised it wouldn't be of any harm to them. Pride of the Empire hit an all-time high, and it would continue this way. While the senators slowly lost power inside the Imperial Senate, it didn't really matter to them, the reason being that it was taken away without really impeding their actions. Plus, whenever a new senator was elected to office, they wouldn't really notice any change considering they were new to office, especially being that on Earth, term limits were rather short, because so many people were consistently trying to join the Imperial Senate advertising business, and the programs of which had advertising were showing competitors constantly. A lot of credits came in during voting season on Earth. Though in the Mid-Rim, as the years passed by, there seemed to be an issue. That was the growth of insurgency. The strike at Aldhani woke up the Empire. There was a great mass confusion of what happened. The people of the galaxy fixated their eyes to the Mid-Rim to see what was happening, and it was the Empire tightening their grip around the necks of the weak and telling them they couldn't continue to act so repugnant towards the Imperial reign. The loss of Aldhani woke up the rest of the galaxy that no longer should these individuals be taken lightly. These insurgents were everywhere. It was more than just Saw at this point, and they were multiplying. Not long after Aldhani was hit, there would be a massive skirmish at Ferric. Not too long after that, on Lothal. The Empire seemed as if it was struggling to keep a grip on the galaxy that it was supposed to control, though the people of Earth stuck with their loyalties. During this period of time, an individual from the Imperial ranks would reach out to Earth. The Death Star project was going well, and many of the key pieces of infrastructure that would help construct the massive space station were already being sent off from the Copernican system to Scarif, so that they could be added to the nearly finished Death Star. Though this voice had been silenced multiple times, and he believed that his project was notable, he traveled to Earth before going out to Lothal to deal with the rebels and the Ghost Squadron. His name was renowned across the galaxy. he was Grand Admiral Thrawn. He was visiting with Yularen originally because there had been rumors about an Imperial spy in the ranks of the fleet deployed over Ryloth and Lothal, and they weren't sure which it was. Though once ISB Colonel Yularen and Thrawn got to talking, especially after the topic of the Imperial spy, they discussed the TIE Defender program. Yularen told Thrawn that he should consider reaching out to the Council of Earth to see if they wanted to work on the project here on Earth. Thrawn told Yularen that he was planning on building it out on Lothal and testing it in the field there. If there were insurgents on Lothal, then there were chances that they would try and disrupt his plans. Thrawn actually agreed with this, but he said that no one would take up the project. It was being put aside for the project of Stardust. Thrawn believed his resources were better fit for the TIE Defender program, especially because the insurgents fought in small groups, not entire planets. Yularen gave Thrawn some contact information for the Earth shipyards. Yularen informed him that they would likely be able to do testing directly from the planet itself. Thrawn was greatly appreciative, and so he reached out to Yularen's contact, and within hours they would respond with an astounding excitement. They would inform Thrawn that they pick up the project and start it in a safe distance from Zhenzhou in the Mongolian desert. Thrawn would have to depart, but he gave them all the blueprints and the scientists that had been working on the design with him to the Earth shipyards. The people of Earth would alert the scientists from the Saturn drive yards, and she would personally oversee the construction of the TIE Defender to make sure it would be an adequate transformation into what Thrawn envisioned. When the TIE Defender was presumed ready, it would do a test run in the Mongolian desert, and then it would take a hefty flight from Earth to Saturn's moon of Titan. The few months it took to develop the TIE Defender would be a complete success, and with Thrawn returning to see its success, he would request that Earth build a fleet worth of TIE Defenders. Of course, the people of Earth were willing to oblige. They were responsible for the Pride of the Core, the first super-class dreadnought, pieces of Project Stardust, the first Republic Star Destroyers, the upgraded Imperial II Star Destroyers, and now the TIE Defender. When the first 3 squadrons were produced, they would fly by show for the people of Zhenzhou all the way to Thebes. Of course, it would be celebrated on Earth's Empire Day, a day formerly known as Republic Day. The day was a celebration of Earth's time a part of the Republic, and now the Empire. Thrawn would receive these 3 squadrons of TIE Defenders, and he would use a squadron of ace pilots to gift them the keys to the TIE Defenders. These ships were an absolute beast of fighter class. They were implanted with hyperdrives for short-range jumping. They also had shield generators and an array of weapons that could take down an Imperial Star Destroyer by itself. While it took long enough of a period for the TIE Defender to be built, the fuel depot on Lothal would be destroyed, accompanying the death of Jedi Knight Kanan Jarrus. Though by the time it seemed as if the insurgents had a chance to defeat the Empire at Lothal, the TIE Defenders were released and the remaining members of the Ghost Squadron would be hunted down and defeated. Thrawn saw the importance of the TIE Defender, and because of his success, he would send the squadrons out to other locations across the galaxy, in which the insurgents were causing the Empire issues. The Empire would place an order for tens of thousands of TIE Defenders, and the people of Earth would of course be compensated well for it. The rebellion would find a chance to spread out across the galaxy, and when the chance to strike at the heart of the Empire came, the rebels took it, though with Thrawn near the system of Scarif for his triumphant victory at Lothal. The rebels had amassed a small fighting force, and they currently were working through beating down the 2 Imperial Star Destroyers stationed over the shield gate of Scarif. Because Scarif was an Imperial base facility, it hadn't received any TIE Defenders yet. Thrawn had replenished his forces with the TIE Defenders, and now harbored 4 squadrons inside of his flagship. Before Admiral Raddus could take control of the fleet battle over Scarif, the Chimera and her support fleet would arrive out of hyperspace. The rebels would be blindsided by it. In the Chimera's support fleet, there was an interdictor, so the rebel fleet had no room to escape. By the time Admiral Raddus and his MC-75 could turn itself on to face the Imperial fleet, he was facing down bombing runs by one of those squadrons of TIE Defenders. The other 3 squadrons had defended off into 3 separate groups. One started hunting down the fragile old Y-Wings, another one was taking down support ships, and finally the last one engaged in fighter-to-fighter combat. The issue is, none of these rebel pilots had ever seen or faced the TIE Defender, let alone heard of them. Anyone who faced them didn't live to tell the tale. For the rebels, they assumed the loss at Lothal was an unfortunate set of events, which truthfully, it was, but it was at the hands of the TIE Defender. When the Chimera's turbo lasers opened fire, it was doomed for the rebellion. Support ships melted under the pressure, and a few people who had fear and tried to retreat were sucked out of hyperspace by the interdictor and slaughtered as well. Thrawn stood on his bridge, watching the rebel effort crumble before his very eyes, and it brought him nothing but joy. He had no rambunctious, power-hungry officers trying to vie for a power position. Instead, he was having them all listen to him. All orders were understood and processed, and the Death Star would arrive. The shield gate would be opened, and within moments, the Death Star would fire a single reactor blast to the surface of the planet before the shield gate would close and seal the rebels in, killing them all. Tarkin would contact Thrawn and congratulate him on his successes. Thrawn and Tarkin had some issues, especially because the Emperor favored Project Stardust over the TIE Defender project. When the TIE Defender became almost the sole reason for consistent victory across the Empire, it seemed as if it was because the TIE Defender was present. Another great thanks to Earth would come from this. With the death of the Rebel fleet, Leia Organa, and any chance for the Rebels to discover the Death Star plans, the Rebel Council would disperse in fear. Sure, there would be those still willing to fight, but their fight would begin to diminish greatly. Though something that would affect Earth was the dissolution of the Imperial Senate that shortly followed the Battle of Scarif. But by the time the Imperial Senate was taken down, the Senators' roles were so little that it didn't really make much of a difference. There was plenty of democracy spread out across the greater Empire, and Earth was one of them, but truthfully the Emperor didn't diminish their feelings for him. While he was the sole leader of the galaxy, he hadn't wronged them in nearly 30 years of public service. Looking back at the track record, he was a leader of the galaxy for an entire generation of adults that had only seen Palpatine as their only leader. Older generations remembered Chancellor Valorum and the tremendous failure of a leader that he was, and the few that were alive before Valorum's reign didn't praise that Chancellor either. Palpatine was a continuous positive in the galaxy. Was it brilliant politics? Possibly. But the truth is, generations saw Palpatine as the one singular positive, with nothing negative to say about him. As Emperor, he was rarely seen, like most politicians, making the news once every blue moon. The politicians on Earth, who were a rarity to see, were more common to see than Palpatine himself. And the truth is, as long as the Copernican system was succeeding, no one really cared about what Palpatine did, because it was very evident that his work as Emperor kept them safe from the insurgents and kept them prosperous. With the heavy defeat of the rebellion over Scarif, the death of the Ghost Squad at Lothal, the death of Saw Gerrera at Jeddah, and the disbursement of the Rebel Council, there isn't really any real sign of insurgency left in the galaxy. Bail Organa, having no role left in the galaxy, would reach out to Ben Kenobi and inform him of the importance that he had now. While the rebels were defeated over Scarif without any survivors, the Death Star would remain hidden over Scarif without any reason to show itself off. Ben Kenobi would work his hardest to get a hold of Luke and start training him in the ways of the Force, and yet Uncle Omen kept restricting Luke. It would take time for Luke to even start making headway to escape Tatooine, but it wouldn't work. While he would eventually get off the planet with Obi-Wan, it wouldn't make a difference. It was too difficult to get anywhere. The only chance for the rebellion had come and gone, and the few people who wanted to resist the Empire would give up. There was nothing they could do. It took organized rebellion 19 years to come together, and it was completely wiped out within the span of a month. The TIE Defender program would be the final war machine produced by the Copernican system for centuries. Emperor Palpatine would use a cloning program to continue his lifespan and continue his longevity of Emperor of the Galaxy. While he was the Sith and had absolute power, he didn't choke out the loyalist planets. Those with rebellious tendencies were dealt with accordingly. But planets like Mandalore would eventually be built up with Mandalorians in control, but those Mandalorians were completely loyal to the Empire. The business in the galaxy was loyalty to the Empire. Earth succeeded at this. Vader would eventually die out, as well with Luke and Kenobi. They would never be able to challenge the Emperor. While the galaxy would consistently change, the Copernican system would continuously find ways to keep success in a galaxy into the future. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our story. Again, special thanks to Benjamin Wells, Jonathan, Pimp Daddy, Bane, Apollo, Mad Mad Studios, Anakin003, and Flynn Van Cease for supporting the channel. Hit 1,000 likes on this. I don't know what's coming next, but it really is. If you want to see what if, let me know below or comments below, do crossovers. Check out the Twitch community, Discord, and Patreon, and support me in other ways. Here are my other channels. Go check them out. I put up awesome content on all of them, except for maybe one right now. And for the free lightsaber, go down below. There's a dock. Click on the dock. You write your name on the dock and hit that subscribe button. We're going to give away 3 lightsabers when we hit 50,000 subscribers, and I got another surprise coming out for you when we hit 50,000 subscribers. So smash that subscribe button. I move away in 3 weeks, and I want to hit 50,000 before I move away because lightsabers are not cheap. Okay, so first thing first, if you want a part 4, let me know now. First things first, again, If I pronounce Chimera wrong, I know I pronounced it wrong. I just can't figure out how to pronounce it. You can write it out in the comment section, but I don't know what you're saying, okay? I need to hear it. So anyways, before the comments roll in telling me how I should be sent to the gulag, listen to my creative choices and look at the full story with me for a moment. There's no long-term rivalries on Earth. While yes, there would be tension, of course naturally tension occurs, this is not our Earth. And that is the point of the story. This is not meant to be our Earth. Our Earth is, well, one, too political to write a story about Star Wars with, okay? And I don't want to do that. That kills careers in YouTube. Look, truthfully, you don't do that. Like, you can't include politics in your story. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not including politics because I care about my longevity on this platform. And that's simply the truth. I'm not going to talk about politics on here. It's a Star Wars channel. And while yes, Star Wars is inherently political, I created a politics system in this story that wouldn't be divisive for a reason, okay? Now, maybe it's an optimistic approach to our civilization, but our civilization hasn't been influenced by a galaxy full of other civilizations that are so advanced they could wipe us out in like a week, okay? If our people were influenced enough to work together, then they probably wouldn't bicker with each other, okay? There would be no reason to have anything deeper than a debate on a stage. Because the truth is, no one knows what comes in our future, and no one knows what's going to happen in this situation. It's like alternate history. You don't know, I don't know, but it's fun to speculate, and that's the point of the story. It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be that deep. It's not supposed to talk about this party or that party. It's not supposed to talk about American politics or any other politics. There's a reason why all this story takes place in the Eastern world. Okay, there's a reason why. It's intentional. It is all intentional. And yes, Zhenzhou being the capital of Earth is actually kind of cool because I love saying Zhenzhou. It's so much fun to say. And that's partly the reason why Zhenzhou is a capital, because it's so much fun to say. But like, imagine the ancient world which goes from Thebes all the way to Zhenzhou being the primary source of human civilization for the rest of the time. I think that's a really cool concept, and I don't know if anyone's touched upon that. Now, like I said, again, this might be an optimistic approach to how Earth would develop, but again, there's no long-standing rivals on this Earth. There's no Great Britain. There's no invasion of the Normans. There's no Roman Empire, okay? All that stuff hasn't happened yet. All that stuff is 1,000 years away from when the Jedi first land on Earth, and that is the point. It's 1,000 years before any of that happens. Again, the point of the story is to avoid any political tendencies in our own world, okay? It's Star Wars, it's meant to be fun, and you're meant to enjoy the video, okay? So anyways, a different perception of the Empire. I know I'm going to get comments about this, so before you try and take me to the gulag, this is my space gulag, and I'm going to tell you all about it. I wanted to do something that we've never seen before, and I always strive for doing something unique in every video. And this is a different perception of the Empire that we've never seen before, at least that I've never seen, and that was a challenge. As a writer, as someone that writes these stories on almost a daily basis, I had so much fun writing this because it is such a challenge to write the Empire in a positive light. Because we've seen all the movies. I grew up watching all the movies. I grew up in the 2000s. I watched all the Star Wars movies all the time. That was my childhood, along with like Transformers, okay? My entire childhood is about Star Wars and Transformers, and it was 50-50 split all the time, okay? So, like, in my mind, I already know who the bad guy is. In your mind, you probably already know who the bad guy is, because you probably did the same thing, being that you're watching this channel with me, making Star Wars stories, right? So in your mind, you know that the Empire is the bad guys. But Earth doesn't know that. We don't know that. We don't know that Palpatine's the bad guy, and that's the entire point. He's not supposed to be the bad guy in this. He is the hero. He is this amazing person who has been ruling the galaxy for 10 years. He saved the galaxy from the Clone Wars, and then he gets rid of the insurgents that try to take down the Empire. In their eyes, he's going to be the good guy. Yes, he might become Emperor, yes. But that's 3,000 years of history that Earth is just going to be like, oh no, we forgot about those 3,000 years of actually being really prosperous because of the Republic. Okay, they continually do well, and people are not going to just be like, oh well, we have democracy on our planet, but since the Emperor is the Emperor, we're not going to follow him because, well, why? They're making money, they're prosperous, they are the core world of the Mid-Rim, and that's the purpose. They are the core world. They are not some regular Mid-Rim world. They're not Ryloth, who lives in a dust bowl that can't get out of their own chokehold. Okay, this is a planet that was revered by the Republic, that is now revered by the Empire, that consistently produces the best vehicles in the Empire, and the Empire is consistently paying out hand over foot, or whatever the expression is, tons of credits to Earth so that it continues to be successful, okay? The Earth is a station for the ISB headquarters in the Mid-Rim. Earth is a station for one of the best academies in the entire Empire, in the entire galaxy. Not just academia-wise, but Imperial-wise. This is a complete different perception of the Empire, and that's the entire purpose of it. Yes, everyone has a redemption story, and that's fine. I'm not critiquing it, but I'm challenging myself as a writer to provide a story about the bad guys for the bad guys, but reimagined as if they're the good guys, okay? All of our Star Wars stories are redemption stories. Reva, Vader, Revan is a redemption story. I mean, all these characters are redemption stories. So I took those and I said, what if the Empire was just the good guys? What if we saw the Empire as the good guys, okay? What if Thrawn, the Emperor, Yularen, Tarkin, what if they were all the good guys? And we just looked at them like that, because from a perspective, it doesn't make sense for Earth after the Clone Wars just be like, no, we don't like you because you are one and we are many. It doesn't do anything. Why are they going to do that? Why? There were plenty of planets that still supported the Empire. Yes, they were proven wrong after the Empire fell, but the Empire doesn't fall in this because of the TIE Defender. And the challenge for the victory for the Empire, for me, was writing in how they're going to have victory. And that is because of the TIE Defender, simply. And I do believe it's the TIE Defender that would win it for them, because TIE Defender is just it's a beast. It's a beast, and I think that's the whole purpose of the TIE Defender arc in Star Wars Rebels, is that it's a beast, and because it didn't get produced, the Empire continued to fail, because the TIE Defender is just broken. It is literally broken. It is so broken. So what I ask for you to do, all I ask, is that you remove everything you know about Star Wars and look at the story, what it tells you, and would you side with the Empire? Maybe. If you had no knowledge about what the Clone Wars was really over, would you side with the Republic? Maybe. And that's the purpose. Make you question what you already know. That's the whole purpose of the story. They make you question everything. And it was so much fun to do. This has been one of the best series, if not my favorite series that I've ever done on this channel. My favorite continuous series. Because it was just so much fun. And I was almost afraid to do this series because I was afraid of getting into, as I talked about earlier, the politics of Earth. But I realized that as I could avoid that, as I could kind of herald in a new era of Earth, I could create a story that we've never seen before. And that was the fun of this story. So I hope you guys enjoyed this journey as much as I did writing it. Like I said, if you want a part 4, I could probably do a part 4 and probably have some fun things. Like I thought about it while I was finishing up the story. I was like, well, maybe I could do a part 4 in this. I don't know. Just let me know before, because I'm setting out the thumbnails for one of my editors to do. So let me know if you want that, so I can tell them to make a thumbnail for this. But I was already thinking, like, wow, what happens after this? Because the Jedi are gone. The Jedi don't exist anymore. The Jedi are dead. The Rebellion's dead. Who left for the Empire to face? I'm sure you already know. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed our short series. I love you all. Spread the love, and always remember, my friends, may the Force be with you.